I'd now like to call the July 10th, 2023 Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting to order. Can we please start with the roll call?
Yes. Aaron Angel? Here. Scott Conlon?
Here.
Thomas Davis?
Here.
Paige Lewis is absent. Sam Libby is also absent. Nicholas Novello?
Here.
Dan Olson?
Here.
And Mr. Tim Waters, not here.
Got it. Okay, let's move on to the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or requested changes to this month's agenda? If not,
I would go ahead and Danielle was going to give an update as the new open space manager, but she is on vacation this week. And dropped the crap, so I could give a high level, but I prefer just letting her talk about the new program and what she's doing. So if I could move that to next month or something, I'd appreciate that.
okay, so that is new business open space updates, right? Got it. Okay,
So table that. And
So it's gonna be a shorter meeting today.
Yes.
quite short.
Darn.
Look at that.
That stinks.
Okay, that definitely makes sense to not. Anyone have any? Well, let me ask this. Anyone want a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I
Yeah.
move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'm moving that piece.
Yeah, sure.
Can I have a second?
In short.
I second. Second? All in favor? Everybody? Okay, excellent. Cool. Moving on to last month's minutes. Does anyone have any questions or requested changes to the meeting minutes from last month? Stop.
Yes, page 4, number 7, I think Sam asked about $5 million, not $500 million. It was, about the Greenway project,
You said
1.5 to 500.
Yes.
okay. A little bit, yeah. Good call out. I actually didn't even find it. That's good attention to detail there. Anyone else have edits in the minutes? Does anyone want to have a motion to approve the last month's minutes as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Give a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, there we go. Moving right along. Okay, then we have public invited to be heard. Do we have public invited to be heard?
We do.
Awesome, okay. So, we have 3 minutes to allocate for this, of course. 3 minutes, no pressure. Before you get started, please state your name and your address so we cover where you're from. And I'll just caveat that certainly worth definitely looking forward to listening to what you share, but we're not required as a board to cover and respond to it at this meeting, but we'll respond and of course acknowledge it. So thank you.
Okay, so Sue Alberg,
She's in Longmont, by the way, so
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
understands how this works.
do I need to give my address?
Yeah.
Oh, 332 Lincoln in Longmont, just up the street. And I have lived in Longmont since 1980. I have been on this board a number of times in the past. And I've been an avid recreation user all those 40 plus years. So really, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here. The one thing I wanted to say was I finally got to go to one of the public meetings about the new rec center. I didn't even know about the first one. When I did go, I was very disappointed to see the 2 proposals, one having 4 lap lanes and one having 6. After reading, and I went and did all the research and read all the public comments and all the survey stuff, and I saw there was a huge number of people really pushing for more lap lanes. All I see is switching the 6 from Centennial to 6. It leaves us at 12 lap lanes in Longmont, plus the 6 at Sunset. So I know there's nothing you can do about it at this moment, but I just wanted to say that. I also have always felt that the location we picked the council has picked is not the right one. One thing I want to bring up, and I don't know because I couldn't find previous minutes, was this whole proposal that I read in the Times Call about the YMCA wanting to partner with the city on their proposed new facility. Has that been discussed at all here? Okay, so I just want to make some comments. I am very concerned about the city partnering with the Young Men's Christian Association. I think it's possibly appropriate for them to partner with housing and childcare, but I think it's very wrong for them to join us and collaborate on a recreation program together. I am very upset the city would even consider giving them the property that they're talking about, the Clark Centennial property. To me, if I had my wishes, that's where the new rec center would be. We'd have a northern rec center, we'd have a southern rec center. People would be mildly happy, it's more fair. I think it's prime land, and I just have a real hard time after dealing with the Y and different issues. I don't trust them to work with us the way they say. I don't trust them to share. And in the paper, the comments from Mr. Coker, who's their CEO or whatever, not wanting to inconvenience their members, but not considering how many people would be inconvenienced while we waited for them to build their new center and we used their very rundown facility, especially their swimming pool. So I just hope that this board is actually, thinking about that and hopefully discussing and caring about that. I don't understand why they would give up more acres for smaller acres other than, I don't know. I don't know what the real reason for that is, and it concerns me greatly. Okay. So, that's it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that certainly a lot of similar, I've heard similar things in other places as well, so I'm gonna hear you on that. Is there any immediate responses from staff that you wanna come back with, or if not, that's okay? Okay. All right, thank you so much for coming.
Can I listen to the next?
Yeah, of course, you're public meeting.
No. It's new rules.
That was Jeff Friesen.
Sue and I talked a long time at the last meeting, so.
Okay, thank you. And is there any other public here? Okay, I made that mistake last time, so I'm trying to watch myself. Okay, let's move on to old business. So Jeff, you're gonna give us a quick update. Oh, Ben is on the new recreation center feasibility study update. Yes.
Okay, we've got a few things to go over tonight. What we have happening is we're going to be doing a presentation of the feasibility study to council a week from tomorrow on the 18th. Chris Costello will be there with myself and show council what we've come up with. And you guys have been pretty well informed, as well informed as anybody can be up until now. So I've got a few slides from that. Obviously, we couldn't come and show you everything we have at this point. That would be inappropriate to do right before we give it to council, but we will get it to you guys as soon as it is publicly available. We'll send that to you guys.
I'm sorry, it's inappropriate?
To show you guys the.
Aren't we
To
the
show the-
advisory board? Don't you go through to us first and then we say, oh yeah, it's a good idea for council?
This is, in my opinion right now, this is something we can't show the public, because this is a public meeting. We cannot show the public until we show city council. They need to be able to see this first.
So if they ask,
They've
what
asked
does the
for this
advisory board
information.
think, we can only say, don't know.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay?
So,
I'm not complaining personally, I thought that was how we worked, was we were supposed to see things and then make a recommendation.
And part of it is the information isn't ready to give you
yeah,
tonight.
that would be a piece of it, for
Yeah.
sure.
That we met with them today, some of the information that's in there we're not in agreement with. And so if we share that with you this evening, it becomes public information and it's not ready for prime time.
Okay. Okay,
So that's what we have going on. So next Tuesday night, a week from tomorrow, we will be going and showing that. And council will be making a decision, at least that's what we plan on, they'll be making a decision whether this goes on the ballot or not.
you think they'll decide that next Tuesday?
They need to
So it's
decide.
take it or leave it, there's no
To have second reading
tweaking
on this.
or,
They could ask for it to be tweaked and we could make changes to it.
I'm thinking about 6 lap lanes in particular that just came up this evening, and I'm not sure what the proposal or what this is gonna look like or how detailed things are, and I guess go on. I'll save my questions for later, sorry.
Okay. So what we brought for you guys tonight, again, this is not real extensive, but this goes over the online survey that we've had. So this was available for a period of time to residents. We had 185 responses. And summary of results. And this is a PDF here, so bear with me. I think I got everything on there. As you can see, we've got, it's the usual suspects of what you'd expect. So fitness, group exercise being real high, recreational swimming, and the walking, running, track, and then fitness, competitive swimming falls in there. Pretty much what you would expect to see off of these sorts of results are the general things that we've talked about here in these meetings. So no real surprises jumped out at that. I thought childcare was interesting that it was that high considering the amount of use we generally have had. I mean, we're just getting going again the last 4 months of childcare at the rec center, but it's never been as gangbusters as I thought it could be. And this goes back to very important or not important, so the amount of respondents. We got about almost 80%, I think, were important or very important. And I think most importantly for you guys, what you would be interested in is this is the slide we thought we could show you guys on the site concept. So this is adjusted from what you've seen before. Adjusted data. Again, this is still conceptual, so please understand that, but trying to take into account some of the feedback that we had off the original one, which was pretty basic. It turned it, tried to take advantage of western view of the mountains, and put the parking to the east side there. So any thoughts on what you're seeing here? You know, again, being conceptual, but this is the adjustment we made.
Do we have more clarity about the library? Because before we were calling community space potentially.
So that's our next, we're gonna talk about that as far as, if they're both passed, they will go together. That's our understanding is how it will work. If both items are passed, the library and recreation center will be at the same site.
And they're separate ballot issues.
That's actually my next topic of discussion, so we can jump into that. So from our discussions internally, there are pluses and minuses to doing that either way. And we'd like to know your guys' opinion, whether to have those as separate questions or not. So recreation center being one, new library being the other, or being combined at one site into one project. Anybody have thoughts on that?
Are there any proposed alternate sites for, say, like an off-site, like a separate library to this?
No.
No.
Not currently.
No, okay. I didn't know if there was any sort of land out there that was set aside for anything like that. So
No,
there's
it has
not
to go
even.
on city-owned property,
Yeah.
just like this.
Yeah. Okay.
My opinion, based on the 20-year ago version of this discussion, was that combining them is a good thing. We'll get more buy-in from different city groups if, oh yeah, I want a library and I can put up with a rec center or vice versa. You know, and when we passed the library, museum, senior center, whatever that was, what year was that, 2001?
Say that again?
The library, the rec center, museum, and senior center all passed that 1 year when it was
99.
Yeah, and because everybody, that was a big thing, you know, and so I feel like that could be a good thing to have a library, you know, if you call this a community center or whatever, so you can, I mean, the lawyers have something to say about this, right?
Yeah.
Because we were you could only have one issue per ballot question.
And they're tossing that back and forth. Because the library would be at the same location and connected with the rec center, they believe that it
Call it a
could
community
be
center and we're
one
good, or
project.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I would buy into that too. So that'd be my thought, was if you wanna put this in one thing, then it should be one ballot issue. I mean, otherwise it seems kind of weird. You're offering folks a way to shoot it down by saying no to either one.
We had discussed last month, the term community center or some sort, if the library was involved. It looks like library wouldn't be looking at multiple annexes, right?
They're looking at, they have a storefront project that's separate, completely separate from this, where,
Okay.
I think that's in regular, it's in the regular budget request.
At least right now it is.
Okay.
And where physically is that, do you know?
We do know.
Yeah, so is the city open to it being rebranded as a community center type project? Because it is difficult to then market as one thing. You should have a clear story of what this is, not two things we jam together and vote for it, right? So
you're not against the idea of having them together, but you want it to be a concise project, or to look like a concise project, because they'll show as different numbers. I mean, they'll show as a library at this cost, correct?
Yeah.
In the rec center as a combined project.
That sounds like two ballot issues if you're gonna have two different numbers.
Right.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the way we've always looked at it.
Yeah.
We wanted your feedback, because all these things will need to be considered if it does get put together.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's feedback.
yeah, I think the language has to be to say it's $100 million and X percentage increase of sales tax revenues, period. Not this part is this part and this part is this part, but you're voting for the whole thing, because then people will decide that they don't like one of the two, right? And so you're either voting for the whole thing or you're not, and the language should be.
Then let me play devil's advocate on it and ask you a question. If you have that combined, that becomes now a much larger number.
Right.
So does that become a negative towards somebody who now, I'm not given the choice, I'm having this big thing, this big large number rammed down my throat? And I don't have a.
That's what I
My reaction would be, it's a large number or even bigger number. So people who hate numbers just will vote against it.
Either way, it's a big number, right?
Right, yeah, they'll always be against it because there's a sales tax increase, period, and then no levy. So they're just gonna be against anything. So that's gonna be your standard thing. I think you would get more buy-in for library and quell issues of traffic and whatever, because you're tying in the schools. School kids to be able to go to a library in their neighborhood, which would be a completely different thing than just a rec center in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, and to add that just from a ballot perspective, it does seem to make it a smaller target. If it is a combined issue on the ballot as well, people will find just enough stuff that they like in it that they give it the yes and then move on from it. But because if it is two items, does that mean that if one fails, it can drag the other one down as well? Or
I don't know.
oh, okay. I didn't know.
It could, yes.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
my
I really
perception
want a
of it.
library now. To
Yeah.
get it, I have to vote for a rec center or
Yeah,
vice versa.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, in our meetings, we've looked at both sides.
Yeah.
There are some pluses and minuses looking at both ways.
okay.
yeah, because standalone individually, they each cost more too, right?
Yeah,
Because
if they're
we're not sharing
separate.
the library,
Yeah,
we're
right.
sharing the parking
Yeah,
lot,
there's-
there's development space.
There's no doubt some cost synergy.
And I think you can use that as hey, we're building a community center because we get these advantages. We're saving money, running the fuel or water or whatever. I mean, all that stuff
Sure.
down the road is better. The synergy of that. It seems to me that if we're gonna put them together, we should advertise it as a single package. That feels like a more likely, like we listen to the voters. There are these things desired in the city. Here we can do it, kind of thing. I mean, that idea that we are listening to the folks who have a request. I mean, you could toss a theater in too if you were really going. I mean,
Let's
right,
do it.
that's the other thing, right?
Stop there.
Like-
Just slowly keep encroaching on the space.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of community center, calling it a community center as well. I like that, and I like putting them together. I think that's a good idea. Will it be on the ballot where it will be located? Is that what's this? I have a feeling that's gonna be at some
That's gonna
point.
Yeah.
I think that's what's gonna
Why,
be.
why do you say that?
Well,
There's,
so Dr. Waters' thing was like talking about, if voters shut this down, they can't suggest any, anything, they can't complain to me about any lack of opportunities for youth and all that stuff. In my not super educated opinion about that area is not in want whatsoever, and anybody in that area has no problem hopping in their SUV and driving to the regular library or the rec center. But where she was talking about that is an in-need area, an area in need of service, an area with a food desert, which is kind of a bummer that the Y took away their farm, and also a cultural and educational desert as well. So I think that it might be kind of hard for people. But it looks really cool, and I like the adventure circuit, and I love the new changes that you made. That made it really makes me not nervous about the impact as much and things like that. So it's great. I'm excited about it myself, but I wonder if that will be okay.
Would you like for this board to pass a motion to recommend that the library and recreation center are combined in one ballot initiative as a community center?
Motion for it, or?
Sure.
I'm gonna ask.
Or
Would anyone like to?
Or would you
amend
just
that
like
motion?
to say, we heard from the board and
I'm
then they all
glad
said
to
it
just
was a good
say
idea?
that, is that consistent with you two, Nick?
That's fine.
And then,
Whatever
I mean, I
comes to
can-
you best.
I can-
Yeah, whatever.
We can pass that on, that.
It seems unanimous too, right? I mean,
Because this is,
If I'm not passionate about it, if somebody has a really good reason why to split them up, they know more than I do.
otherwise.
With your group, does that have an impact on them?
I have to talk to Dawn because I just sent the proposal in today for the application, and it's supposed to be written per issue. So the ballot measure is supposed to be related to it. Now, I think you could have multiple committees going for any particular ballot measure. And she had said, I think she has to hold off some of it until there is actual real
That's what you say.
So I just, I'll have to clarify that. I would think that there would be a library group that's for it and a recreation group that's
That was
for it,
one of the
and that should work, right? You could have multiple packs doing things as well, so.
well, when there, and this was brought up, when there are 2 minute measures, you've got 2 groups that are essentially vying for money against each other, for lack of a better term, even though they both would be for the other thing. If they are together, then there's potentially some synergy between a recreation
That'd be my
representative group and a library representative group.
Longmont's Mind Body Center.
So with this, I mean, what's the advancement of the YMCA program? Like, I mean, because that's in context of the things that council went and said, here's our list, and that's what drove their answer to recreation was really the Y piece more so than the New York Center.
So the status of YMCA is that we are in discussions with them about what the fee structure would look like. And we have to be able to present that to city council next week on what that structure is. And we haven't reached a conclusion with them at this point. We're meeting tomorrow morning to try to come to that, and what that would look like. Some sort of a value added pass, because people are not gonna vote for it if it's just an addition for them, if it's just more money. there needs to be an advantage to the citizens of Longmont that they actually receive to doing such a thing, otherwise why would you vote for it? So, that's what we're working with them right now, to try to come up with something that works. And then we'll see, we will be presenting that spot to council.
Okay.
Do you all agree with that? I mean, do you believe the residents should pay 12 million in tax and then have to pay full amount in addition? So if you had a city pass, there would be additional charge? Or
It would be less than a drop-in charge, but so you would get an advantage if you had a city pass, going to the YMCA.
Personally, I disagree with the whole Y thing. I don't see giving them any money. It's a private entity. We don't do anybody else that way. Now, I understand that there's more to it than just a rec center. If there's all this extra low-income housing and childcare, and so maybe I'm short-sighted, but it feels like we would never do this with Gold's Gym or any other private. In fact, you brought up that the rec center, we had to scale back because of competition with the gyms. And this feels a little bit like the Y horned in to say, oh, we want to reserve this spot for us. You guys are stuck over here in Clover Basin. Keep it over there, we get this spot. I mean, it almost feels like they jumped in before there was, maybe Harold had already decided on this spot. I'm not sure how that decision was made.
It was part of the master plan.
Well, because we promised, but this isn't the first time a master plan could have been changed. I still liked Garden Acres as a spot, diagonally opposite. Even though you said it's not really there's room, well, you could tear something out. I mean, in any case, to Sue Albert's point, both rec centers are now south of Nelson.
But does it make sense to build another brand new rec center? If let's say the Y stays status quo, does it make sense to build another big facility right there?
Sure, because how many of us are Y members?
But I don't think you can look at it that way. I think it has a area that it serves as well. And those circles should overlap or at least touch, but I don't know that it makes sense to build two primary facilities right next to each other.
Yeah.
Just something
Right.
to think about.
Well, that assumes that is the Y going to stay if we vote no to their
I would
proposal?
assume so. I can't
Or is this
speak for
a
them.
trying to stay alive kind of thing for them?
I don't know that either.
Yeah. Okay.
The specific project we know is happening in various parts of the country, the type of project they're doing. Why specifically they want to do it here, and that's not information on.
Yeah.
Other comments about the why?
Being a newer member of the board, is there a history of, is there any sort of comparables that we have working with other private entities before? That any results that have occurred?
Not within this city.
Okay.
There are a couple different models. So, for example, Johnstown had built a facility, the city built a facility, and the YMCA runs it. That's a different thing than what we're talking about. Not that I don't know of one specifically like this.
Okay.
We did find a couple in our searches of similar sorts of things where there's a public and private cooperation. It's definitely more rare. Colorado Springs is another one. The Y just they fill that niche down there. So, and that certainly happens in various parts of the country. It did where I grew up.
Okay.
YMCA is where the YMCA is where the primary provider. But this would be definitely a little bit different than standard.
Hmm.
How about you guys as staff? What do you see as say the Y passes, I don't know what they charge as a one-time fee for members or for non-members, or, how much, is it gonna be the same as we would pay at the rec center or more?
That's what we're negotiating.
And what do you think
I
as
don't have
professionals? Interesting, okay.
So, I mean, so,
I mean,
yeah, so,
Because as a user, am I getting something special by going to a Y? Or is it
Well,
just
they-
like a rec center to me?
I think one of.
Why would I
the-
pay more than I would at a rec center?
I don't know that you would.
Right.
The
The
advantage
difference would be
is,
the ice.
yeah,
The
Ah.
ice would be that's the point of difference.
Okay.
So.
Right, I
you know,
forgot.
We
Thank you.
have lap lanes, they have lap lanes, they have workout, we have workout. The difference would be the ice.
the key to remember for us as staff is, yes, we're into recreation, but the city council has overall goals that affordable housing is one of their primary goals. And this hits two of those things. So that's very important to the city to continue to be able to provide affordable housing.
Okay.
And then ICE, where city doesn't necessarily have to build it on its own and or operate it, because the Y has a history of operating ICE at that.
Yeah, maybe I should, in my own mind, I should be thinking ice first, as then rec center, and then it differentiates it better that
Yeah.
way. Okay, thanks.
So, Jeff, your question, was, pricing, lower than what we're paying now? Was that your question, or was it just, rec center pricing? You had a question about, we pay the $12 million, should we get that, should we charge?
I believe there should be some kind of advantage to Longmont residents if they're paying $12 million towards the project. And right now, what we've been negotiating is, if you are a pass holder, you would get to go to the Y, but you would have to pay some type of an additional amount. It wouldn't be their normal $12 or $15 amount.
I think it's currently 12, but.
Yeah, it might be, you might have to pay 5 or 7 or 9 each time you go. But it would be,
That's what we're trying to do
right.
with them.
part of the issue that we have with this, because recreation will do the same thing if we pass the election for the new rec center. There will be fees and charges that will have to go along with that.
Right.
The Y is really no different than how they do their operation, except they don't get tax dollars normally. So their belief is the 12 million is going to pay for the facility, and we have to charge X for a drop-in and Y for passes to be able to keep the place open, but, to pay the operational costs. So that's where this fine line is of trying to understand where they're coming from, but also they don't have usually $12 million going towards helping build their facilities either.
Yeah, they're not gonna have to pay a mortgage like they do now, or they did. So their fees are no longer required to pay off this building. It's got paid by somebody else, by us all, right?
And so how does.
No, I think I agree, we should be paying less than a regular. Now, what about a membership to the Y? Don't you have to be a member to go there? Not just pay when you show up, but also.
You can just drop in
You can,
15
it's
bucks.
It's
15 bucks,
expensive.
it's for children, it's 10. The memberships are quite competitive. It is a much better deal if you are my kid's age to go to the Y, apparently, than it is to go to the rec center.
Oh, I
I
don't think
just looked it
so.
up.
Our fees are way less.
They have a young adult category, which is pretty darn good. It's not bad. Annual rate $385,
Yeah,
which
city's way below that.
the annual rec fee that would be an adult is $455.50.
Youth.
I'm
You're
talking about for
young adults, or
young
are you
adult
talking
20 to 20,
Gotcha.
like
That's the
19 to
only
25.
place-
Yeah,
that theirs is
yeah.
even comparable?
Yeah, and so that's like that was the one that I was like, oh wow, now we just got that young person in
But it
the
also might be a way that they're not trying to get younger people in there.
Right.
Because our younger people under 18 is a lot less money.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just interesting, because I just looked it up.
I think that's one of our
Broadband is not their
concerns.
model. So.
Right, we're trying to get some benefit out of the 12 million we're paying them
Mhm.
by maybe offering perhaps a discounted rate for some period of time, but wouldn't that cannibalize in a way usage of our city recreation center? Don't we want to,
Here's my thought.
right?
Here's my thought is just what Dan was talking about. If you have a pass to our recreation centers, other than ice, we have everything.
Right.
So there's no reason for you to pay any more to go there. Otherwise, just get a YMCA pass.
Or vice versa.
That's your- Yeah, or vice versa.
Right.
The only reason is if you live next door to one or the other, it's convenient as heck to do one.
Yes,
You know.
and then you get a pass to that place. So I'm not as worried about what you're talking about as far as cannibalizing, because
Right.
they'll have, if you wanna go to the ice, then you pay that extra fee. And, you know, we're working on some days around what I've talked about here before is the prime time from November 15th to January 1st, specifically of having some prime days during that time. That is our prime time at ice. And so we have that going too, but it's minor. That's we'll get that worked out, no problem, compared to this fee. Because again, the differences in fees between what they charge and we charge, it's hard to get that to coincide and have it look palatable, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And will city council then say we shouldn't have like the ice pavilion now that there's an ice provider in town? Is that a danger? To me, it's a whole different thing.
Absolutely, that ice pavilion would go away.
Like, cause that, to me, it's a whole different thing. I
I agree,
I
but
mean, outdoor ice is a completely different beast to me than indoor hockey ice. Yeah, like.
You think it would go away just budget wise? You've
I-
already heard that?
They keep wanting it to go away,
no,
seems like.
No, that's not-
historically.
that's not true.
Okay, sorry.
I'm gonna give a little history of the ice rink. So 2003, the city wanted to offer an outdoor ice opportunity. We contracted with a gentleman who ran the ice rink for one season. He was a hospital administrator. He got a job in California, and so he sold everything of his operation to the city for $20,000. Chiller, the same chiller we're still using, by the way. That was the 92. Yeah. Where do you get that kind of thing? So $20,000. Now we're almost 20 years later and still using a lot of that equipment. The chiller is needing to have work done, serious work, or be replaced. Ben has done a lot of work to get with contractors to be able to get those numbers, and we're at a point where so when we did the pool and ice before, the standard was your community can't afford to run an indoor ice rink and an outdoor rink like you do. You need all those resources to go and pay the bills at the indoor place. So we believe if the Y would ever do that, that would be, we would need to get out of that business. Plus it could save us anywhere from $240,000 to nearly $1 million to replace ice mats, which is what the chiller glycol runs through, to replace the chiller itself, which is gonna be over $700,000 just on its own for a 4-month operation. And does it make sense to spend that kind of money on a 4-month operation? So it may appear like I don't want to do ice, but that is not true at all.
Well, I didn't necessarily mean you guys. I meant city council has debated it quite a bit.
You know, they haven't talked about it for many years, since 2008 was the last time.
But you're being realistic with the numbers.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you know,
That's just the number.
So basically, no
It's
matter
amazing.
what,
So,
it's in
all of it.
Something needs to be done. We have made proposals through the budget process that will be discussed about with the ICE, once council gets the proposed budget.
So, but with the Y project, they're revamping what is essentially Centennial Pool, right? Like that goes away. and gets
Centennial gets scraped.
Right, and they
Start
rebuild
all over.
a whole new pool. So partly, part of the thing is that you get a full-on fitness gym, the ice, and a brand new pool, not the existing pool. So, you were saying it was just ice, but it's actually.
ICE is the advantage side for the city, I think is what we.
Yeah.
And
more
a new,
laplands.
it's a new rec center
Right.
in a
yeah.
part of town otherwise doesn't have one.
Right.
We don't
But
have to deal with the problem of getting rid of the old pool. Like, it wasn't gonna cost us a ton of money just to fill it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there
Just
are
10
advantages
years.
on those,
It's
and when,
just a
that's like
fill,
what you were talking about, Dan, and Jeff was talking about. That new facility serves its purpose, it'll serve its constituency, which is a community need. It's just, it doesn't match necessarily with what you.
cost structures don't
Yeah,
match,
it's-
right?
So.
If we're used to the
But
city
the
thing,
use, it's another 8 lanes, let's call it, we don't know that. It's another 8 lanes that get added to the city.
it'll be the first 8 lanes. We
Right.
don't have any other 8 lanes.
Even the school district ones that they built that nobody other than them is using, those count because those kids are using it as opposed to our facilities in the
Yeah.
YMCA now. So they count in that big package. They're not ours, we would love it all to be ours,
Right.
but that's kind of how we try to look at it for now. It's, in the end, it's a decision of the taxpayers.
So if we go back to the original question, Ben, right, it was for the negotiations with the YMCA for pricing, do we have a recommendation on that?
No, we got what we needed.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we have your guys' feedback.
Well, here, I have a little more on there.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
just say, I'll add, it's not so important to me that average long monster that goes into the Y gets a big discount because we did. It's really important to me that the children in that area and people that need financial assistance can use that facility because that's the walking distance facility to a really in need area. And the Y, back when I worked at the Y, which was a million years ago, but I worked there for a while, it was really good about scholarships and it was, you walk into the Y and it was the most diversity that you would see. And I was shocked when I walked in the rec center and saw the difference with that. But I would like to see
About
that
the rec center not being diverse?
not as diverse as the Y. It was, now I think, I haven't been to the Y for a long time and the rec center seems to have expanded, people are, but I would like to see the Y with that 12 million bonus, that discount that the Longmonters should get, that should go to our people in that neighborhood that are in need. I would like that. I think that would be really good.
Any thoughts on that subject?
It's there's some weighing that still needs to be done of like the Y project satisfies a lot of people who will likely vote no for Southwest Longmont. And so, if they can have a place that they get to, I constantly hear that, we've discussed North Longmont being neglected, or East Longmont being neglected, because of new expansion areas instead, is that there's something on the ballot for them. One, you can hopefully get more people to vote, and that they, if they're getting something, they're okay with voting for somebody else getting something. It sounds like there's a big negative wave if there isn't something in their pocket to vote for in their neighborhood, is the feedback I'm getting.
And so the meeting for next Tuesday, City Council, is location part of that discussion at all? No, right?
For the new rec center?
No, it's pretty much set, so this is, yeah. So it's just gonna have to,
And that came top down, right? Did that come from
Yeah.
council or from Harold? Or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter. It was, I don't believe it was council.
that's not right, yeah.
It's
Well, I
a
can't vote
boss,
Harold out of
so
office.
It's tough to say.
Yeah.
Right, but it's like, out of the two choices, it wasn't council.
I wouldn't say that, but David would.
Just saying. There's some people here.
I just feel the
don't
heat
wanna-
from that seat over
Exactly.
there. Like-
Turn the air conditioner on.
I think there's still a lot of shared disappointment about the location, like not having more discussion or part of that, but that seemed like for next Tuesday's meeting, there's.
But part of the issue though was we were really criticized in 19 when we did have a location. And so early on, the decision was made, we're gonna pick a spot and that's it. And that's
Yeah.
what we did.
That was the end of my topics. Does anybody else have anything to add concerning the feasibility study and next week's excitement without Jeff? We're gonna be in the air at that time, so.
So city council has the 11th and 25th as meetings. Is the 18th a study session? Is that what you're saying? Because last month, we were
Last
planning
month,
that.
we were, the
Plan-
It
11th.
was supposed to be tomorrow night.
Yeah, because we had,
Yeah.
I sent a bunch of people
They're
for
missing
tomorrow
two
to go to
Two
city
council people are gonna be gone tomorrow night. So they chose to move it to the 18th.
So is the 11th canceled then?
There's still a meeting tomorrow,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but it wouldn't have,
That was one thing we were gonna ask you, Scott, is where we're at. That was kind of the last piece of this, is where you guys were at with that. And these are, I think tomorrow night has meeting for people to show up to. Next Tuesday and the 18th has a meeting.
Well, I mean,
To voice their opinion.
the idea was, that in messaging to people last month was come to the 11th because that's when the presentation.
which
is.
when we left the meeting, that's when it was.
Yeah,
And then thereafter, we got moved.
yeah. So, unfortunately, I'll be out of state on the 18th, but we can still try to send people for both, or just even to comment for.
I think it would be good for council to hear that people are interested in a new rec center.
Yeah.
You know, there's been quite a few people that have talked about the library, there've been quite a few people that talked about the performing arts, and it would be good to have the rec center heard about.
Is the performing arts folks and the library folks talking about combining their facilities? Is the library up, okay,
No,
not up for grabs or anything?
no.
Okay.
I mean, not that, I've never heard that.
All right.
It's usually a very, very different sort of facility.
But we really like the idea of the buildings being together and having some efficiencies by the staffing and restrooms.
I'm in for that. I think you can sell that as well as on a ballot issue, call it one thing. I think that calling it two things is silly.
Well, and in all those spaces that we were talking about last month too, that are community spaces that the library both needed.
Right.
As well as the rec center needed.
Right.
It could be used from both facilities.
Yeah, there's some really interesting options there that we would get around to when we went to actually design about how that integration would work, because you can do kind of various levels of it. And
Yeah, a meeting room for
But
100
it's very
people
common.
can be either flavor of,
Yeah.
We're right.
And that's very, very commonly done in library and rec center.
okay.
But we're, just timeline, it's discussed on the 18th. Council will need to give some type of direction of what needs to go on the ballot or what should go on the ballot. There needs to be 2 readings in August for it to be placed on the ballot. Once that first reading is done, we start getting the gag order that we can talk about facts and that sort of thing, but nothing about whether somebody should vote yes or no on things.
The library has a board of its own. What are they talking about? Do we have any idea?
They meet, a week from tonight. They have some interest with their friends group of helping do that. I think that if it ends up being one project, it would be good for the CRAB and the library board to have a joint meeting and talk about, you know, how we can work together.
Sooner than a week from Tuesday or after?
After Tuesday,
Okay,
but before we get the
the gag
gag
order.
First
order.
reading.
Okay.
That'd be cool. I like books.
I like the library. Library book in my car right now.
Alright.
Yeah, is that a meeting that would need library staff and Parks and Rec staff to also attend, or just
Yes, that staff will attend to.
so
And they're
a
really
couple
cool.
calendars to mix?
The library staff is very cool. They
They're
do some really good
super,
things.
super cool. That'll be fun.
Is their meeting room cool?
Cooler than
Yeah, very, very.
Literally, we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Literally.
They pay for air conditioning.
Wow.
I'm like super now sold on the Longmont Mind Body Center. I think it'd be good. I think it would just make a whole different, if
I
I could
think
market it a whole
public
different
would
way.
be invited to be heard next Tuesday. Sounds like your spot to be.
Yeah. Or even tomorrow.
Or tomorrow,
Yeah.
right?
Or tomorrow.
Alright, so since
Okay.
we're covered on that, that was the main item for tonight actually, because the other one was closed off. So I guess we'll just move straight into items from the packet updates. Does anybody have any items in the packet updates they want to talk about? Scott?
So Boston Avenue still says it hasn't been awarded, but I thought it was awarded.
It has been. I got word from Alan this morning that it has been awarded.
Okay.
And they're working on getting that schedule updated.
Okay, so we're looking at like August, September as a start?
For that piece, the Isaac Walton is probably towards the end of the year when that starts. The levee outside of Isaac Walton at the
Okay.
river. So that'll then close between Sunset and Boston.
Okay. So the concern is, of course, in the cycling community, is that this was all gonna be starting in May. And that's why we didn't, besides the not being able to certify Reach One, is that we now have an entire summer where the public is looking at two projects that never got underway and a greenway that no one can use. So we're riding on, across two dangerous roads in a railroad bridge that's a disaster. Is there any way we can mitigate this? I mean, because it's horrible on us to constantly try to, unfortunately, toe the city line when, people are.
So let me, a couple things, if I could real quickly, just reintroduce Stephanie Cooper, who is the manager of the project management team now.
Yeah.
And she's met this group before, but the chair can kind of give me some directions too, but I knew I was shortchanging some topics, but I also heard some maybe desire to get out of here a little bit early, but Stephanie can give some updates on projects during staff invited to be heard, so I thought maybe that'd be a
That's
little.
good.
She can tailor her message to how much time you guys want to spend on it. But on this one, Scott, when Stephanie did come in, because there's new eyes on this, and I've been hearing it as well, I took her out, we looked at it, I had her go out there and talk to project managers, I asked her probably almost verbatim what you just said, so I will let her then
And I
follow
also
up.
have experienced it, on bikes, and like, wouldn't it be great if we could just bike to Left Hand Brewery? That would be fantastic. But the thing is, they are getting ready to gear up construction, and with the work that they need to do on the bridge, which the project manager better explained to me, they're gonna need to go down behind Left Hand to move a lot of that, because they're gonna deepen the channel and widen the channel, and they're gonna make new underpasses that wouldn't have to close with a high water event like happened this year. So because of that, all of that material is gonna be moving down and over and being stored behind Left Hand, so that's why that piece can't open. Now that they have awarded the contract to Zach Third, I believe, they're just working through logistics and all of the beginning parts of their project. They will get going this summer.
So
Before
this,
summer is
the
over.
quote here of completion expected in Q2 '23 is total hogwash.
Yeah.
Resilient St. Vrain, Isaac Walton Reach One between the BNSF crossing and Boston Avenue, under construction with completion expected in Q2 2023. Not even close.
No, it's gonna be 18 to 24 months.
All right, well, you should update that.
Well, yeah, sure.
It's got Steve and Jim
Yeah.
Crick, updated 7/3/23. All right,
Oh, really? So they,
that's what it says in today's update, and that was,
Yeah.
I had that question on my list, like, that ain't
They have a year
happening.
long.
yeah.
So we'll update that. Make sure it's
Okay.
I agree, it's really hard to get around by bike in Longmont, actually. So I would look forward to that, not just to go to Left Hand Brewery, but actually to do transportation,
Yeah, as a route.
Transportation from Southmore Park, one of the largest communities, and then to the library. Can't ride your kid to the library, but people, you can't either ride 5 miles on your way, or your kid is on the highway, we have a challenge here with with alternative transportation. I wish we could expedite that kind of thing.
So that's a bigger conversation. I think I would be glad to have it with this group at how that's one of the things we talk about CIPs and how they're kind of set for 5 years, but the priorities of this group really help us do that, and that's a good topic people in there. But Scott, I just want to go back to your point too. I really did push Stephanie to try to thread that needle if there's any way we could do it. And I'm confident she's kind of looked at everything she could.
And it's 2 projects. There's the park by the railroad and Left Hand, and then Isaac Walton is a.
The Isaac Walton is the park by, it's where they're doing the levee,
Sunset Street.
But they're 2 separate
Sunset to
parks.
Yeah, those are 2 separate events. So the one is being handled by the Corps of Engineers, the other is city transportation.
It would be nice if they could be going at the same time, so that would get us open again. It just seemed like we've been closed for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so.
Since like 2013.
Substantial
That's a long time.
Yeah.
improvement of Walton Beach 2 before we start west of Sunset, right? You can't do west of Sunset while doing Isaac Walton Beach 2, because they're both core projects, right?
We went out and looked at that. I mean, I had it right there on foot. We tried looking at anything we could do to try to make this work, Scott. And I'm sure we'll keep evaluating as it goes forward.
Yeah, I keep in constant communication with the transportation group because I have received it since being in the role several phone calls on this subject. And even today I talked to someone about it who has small children and said how difficult it is when they're learning to ride a bike to go on the detour. And I completely understand. But just constantly looking for ways that maybe, that time frame can be tightened up. But the Army Corps of Engineers, that's a hard project to control.
And both those are our control too. It's not like it's a Parks and Natural Resources project manager running it. We're coordinating with either transportation or the Corps on these.
The last time I rode it anyway, it seemed fine to ride on. And I got skinny tires. I just almost feel like, I know this, especially this city, doesn't do anything at your own risk. We're just like ride at your own risk and let us through, right?
So I think we missed a window where we could have had something open. I think what Stephanie is saying, right, that's the reason I took her out there, because I was out there, I looked at it, and I'm like, why can't we just? And it really is how quickly the timing of this next project is coming up. And I think we can look at it again once that happens, but right now, that engineer is really saying that space is really going to be in an active construction zone during this bridge piece. Don't know, I'm going to take his word for it, but I'm sure Stephanie will be out there.
Yeah, and when I saw it, I'm like, well, why can't you just ride up from Left Hand around the corner to Boston, pop over, and then go back down to Isaac Walton, if that's what it was. But I asked, and no, that is not an option. Just given their containment and their activity zone that will be occurring with the Boston Bridge project, it's just not feasible.
Yeah, it just, we've been here talking about notifying people sledding because we're gonna take away the dirt hill during sledding season. That's just gives you, just in this year's time frame of trying to communicate that when projects are happening. So we're a year off, a year later.
So I guess the 2 kind of commitments is one, I'm sure this group will not let us forget to continue following up. I know Stephanie will not, let this drop either. So I would assure you that as we come to these meetings, if there's any change in this, we will let this group know.
Okay.
Thank you for raising that stuff. Anything else?
No.
I have a small one that I'm just curious about. On page 10, Timbers update E, new sand for the volleyball courts at Kanemoto, working with the tennis group.
Oh.
And I'm just confused. What
This
is
is the volleyball group. They actually they've made some big, again, it's one of those projects where we just couldn't meet their standard. They actually made some donations to help.
Great,
us.
no, that makes perfect sense. Volleyball group, okay, I'm done thinking about it, thank you. I was just curious how tennis was involved.
And,
Dig out underneath the tennis court.
and some of those renewal projects, and Stephanie talked about, which is her updates, but she does have a new person working in that role for those kind of renewal pieces. So it's really kind of nice to have Timber having some resources. We can go do those smaller projects a little quicker.
Okay, thanks.
And
Anybody else?
Is the Kensington Park bathroom that's being repaired, is that the explodey bathroom?
that's a great question. I don't know what exploding bathroom is, but that's the one that was,
Exploded.
there's one that was hit by a vehicle.
Oh, no, I didn't, okay, so that, I just thought it was the one that got.
Sandstone was exploded.
Sandstone was the
And
exploded.
that porta potty at Pratt was exploded.
That was burnt.
Burn,
We had
okay,
the burn,
sorry.
we had the
Yeah,
exploded. We had the-
specific ways of pulling it
We had the
back.
baseball bats, we had the explosions, we had the fires, we had the cars.
They make a
fun.
really good echo when you like make loud noises in
The
there.
sandstone one, you can't even tell there was a toilet there. It was,
When did this happen?
Before you came.
no, this is just another recent one.
Oh, there's another
Oh, my.
recent one? Oh, boy, you should always let me know, because I can talk to those kids, I think. I feel like I know those kids.
I think it's one of the last few porcelains around, so it's a good way for us to be changing to the stainless and stuff too. So.
Prison toilets.
Yep. That's Steve's piece, is like we just can't build anything nice anymore. So.
The
Everything costs more.
Kensington Park restroom, we have engaged and received the final construction documents from a design team. And so, we're working with procurement now to get those drawings out to bid with some of our citywide award GCs, which will probably go through the bidding process through at least mid-August, and then we'll get under construction to fix that restroom, so, the one that was hit by the car. So,
I didn't know about the car hit. I knew about the exploding ones.
Something stick in your mind better.
I know, yeah, I mean,
exploding sounds.
yeah.
Indoor parking is what it's.
Any other items from the packet? I had one on the Blue Miller Park renewal. Steve, Tiffany, awesome.
You're hitting all of mine, so.
So the what I know for a fact is that neighbors in my community are organizing like an opening day thing next Saturday. They rented out the
22nd, I
casino.
think that's what they were targeting.
So like, are we gonna have the playground ready by then? Or?
Yeah, so we're doing a punch list on the
Okay.
playground with the designers and the contractor on Thursday morning, doing a punch list on the restroom on tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And so that way they can start making any corrections, and then, next week they'll be going through the larger scale part corrections, which we don't anticipate many now. They have got the sod in, the irrigation's up and running as of this weekend, I saw the sprinklers running today. It will make it. It's not gonna be an early done, but it'll be done.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's just been a weather challenge.
Yeah,
We couldn't
totally.
get the sod in, it keeps raining, I don't know if you guys have noticed. So it's
I
just
would
been a
think that would
challenge.
be great for sod.
Well, you gotta get things established, they also had a lot of irrigation work to do, so everything got slowed down.
And driving,
Yeah, getting the equipment in there.
Driving, yeah, equipment.
You don't wanna
right.
destroy when you're fixing and all of that, so.
There's a pretty good group of neighbors and like community members that kind of planning to join this and celebrate the big opening project, and so we came there and like it's all roped off still.
No,
That would be kind of a
yeah, the
bittersweet.
neighborhood group within the city, they're planning an event that day, and
Yeah.
we've also been in touch with the disc golf people, and I think those baskets are getting installed on the 20th.
Okay.
So we just needed to get the sod somewhat established before those baskets go up, because then there's no stopping them.
Yeah, I was like, you can actually hold off on those like a couple of weeks. No, I'm just kidding.
When is your event? When is the
If the
event?
22nd is what
It's the grand opening.
is the grand opening, yeah.
So there's a lot of disc golf.
That was already.
It was just a
Yes.
game.
Yeah.
And they were playing down Kensington as
That might be the original place in town if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Washington.
Now they
Right, I
won't be
think
playing
so.
through the playground though.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so then more updates in the packet, so then we can move to items from staff. You wanted to,
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
so
more
if you want.
project to talk about. Spangler Park pedestrian bridge will be replaced. That is under, so we've awarded the contract. They've actually moved a piece of equipment out there. Worked out a deal with the town home developer next door to access the site through their back drive. And so that's why, before they pour their concrete, they moved our big piece of earthwork and equipment last Friday. Then the developer's gonna pour the concrete, and then we're going to transport the bridge across their new concrete after it's cured, which should all align. Because that is the best and really least disruptive way to get the bridge to the park. It's not a big bridge, it's like a 20-foot bridge. So that's gonna be completed probably September. We'll have a better used bridge on that ditch.
Awesome.
I think that's all.
Do you want to talk about your 85 project? Is there an
Oh, yeah.
update on
The
that?
big ones, those
The
are
big
all the
ones.
renewals.
That's going to the end.
I thought it was 9 and 5.
Yeah.
So we've kicked off the first 3 of the 8 and 5 projects. So that includes Clover Meadows, Fox Meadows, and Dry Creek Synthetic Turf Fields. So we've started design. We're actually meeting with the design team again tomorrow to go look at all the sites and have more discussions. These will be completed, construction, mid-fall and late fall of 24. So we're rocking and rolling. We've got a project manager. Let's see, Elisa is assigned to Clover Meadows. Steve is on Fox Meadows, which is more of a master planning. So we're going to do community input sessions and things like that on Fox Meadows.
Fox Meadows is Future Park?
Yes.
It is. It's a new park, and so it'll
No,
be.
it's literally Future Park. That
Future
sign has
Park,
been
that's what
up
it
for
said?
20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Future
They
Park.
want
It's
that
Future
name
Park.
as they want that name.
But yeah, so that's master plan through completion of construction, so that's a pretty decent process there, that Steve will be overseeing. And then the Dry Creek Synthetic Turf, we're currently interviewing for senior project managers to backfill the position I just had, and so that will be the position that will oversee the Dry Creek Synthetic Turf replacements. That is moving. So there's a lot of things moving right now.
Yeah, there really are. And again, I hope this group appreciates kind of, you know, as we kind of talk about our bosses, but the support council that we've gotten for these project management pieces. Because again, if you can imagine, 6 months ago, this would be a wildlife biologist would go talk to Steve about the trail, a wildlife biologist would go talk to Steve about the volleyball, biologist would go talk to Steve about, and now we have, you know, Stephanie, who's running projects, supporting 2 project managers in the process of hiring 2 more. So I'm feeling really
Yeah,
confident.
a year ago, we were all whiny about this. and
Yep.
You made it happen,
Yeah.
so thank you.
It's this,
Right.
it's that input we get, and
Right.
councils hear that, and leadership hears that. So I'm super excited to have Stephanie on board, and I think it's just a great thing for the city at large.
Right.
So, and again, just so you know, just a reminder, 2 of the positions are 5-year terms to align with that. So hoping to knock those out, but then getting past that, the piece that we want to make sure we still had that support in the city. The other piece was that Timber was very concerned that with all these shiny new parks coming up, we would forget about all the renewals. And Elisa, who you alluded to, Elisa actually came from Timber's work group, so she was his own staff, and she knows those parks, she knows those areas, so she's got a special place in her heart for those little renewals too. So we've got just a great group of people working on this right now.
When is Gaio scheduled to actually open, and is there going to be a grand opening?
I'm gonna have to defer to next month to answer, or I can respond via email. I don't know what the construction schedule is. I know that Steve's been working through some challenges with regard to just the overall, I don't know how much to say, but funding for it. So that hasn't been completely ironed out yet, where all of the money's coming for the construction piece.
Usually do, I know,
Yes. So
I'm more formal about
it was one of those things. It's not just for this group, not excuses, but the realities of it. You know, there definitely is. The city has money for that, but they're always in different buckets, and how we pull those dollars in without impacting other pieces. Some logistics in the dollar pieces. Steve also ran into that one. It had a gas line in it, so we had to go through that whole process. And actually, the oil and gas company actually paid to have it removed, which took negotiations, which was great on our part. But it just those realities of what happens with projects, the unknowns.
Any other items from staff? Okay. Items from the board not related to the packet. Scott?
Let Dan go.
I have one quick one. We were on McIntosh Lake a week ago Saturday, and it was like 150 boaters and swimmers, and whatever happened to the motorboat?
Oh,
the Ranger boat.
You should be seeing it out there. It's not a motorboat. It is a wave runner. If people seen it out there, it's
I have
actually
not.
received very well by people out there.
Send people on a rescue as well.
Yeah, so.
Ah.
Yep, so it's been really good for rescues, it's been very good, fire's gonna get one now too, because they've been doing trainings with us on it, they've seen how easy it is to do rescues on those. People are sometimes surprised how quickly they're arranging to contact them for not having their PFDs out there, and that's one of the bigger things, so it's
The
swimming.
signage for PFDs is everywhere, that
Bryce
part's
is
great.
really- yeah,
Does it
Bryce
say
is-
no swimming anywhere?
I'll double check that, but it should, I know when I was
Right.
spending more time out there.
Because there's lots of, I mean, it was a hot day, and everybody falls off their boat, as it turns out.
Exactly. I know.
And everybody's out in tubes, which is theoretically not allowed
That's-
either.
Yeah, that really is not
But there
allowed.
are lots of tubes.
But if you have
Just-
a fishing pole, then that's a belly boat and that's allowed.
It's a funny, yeah.
It
It's
should
It's a
be,
different kind of boat.
there's gonna be, the
too.
way we define it is a single chamber device. Because if that's out there and if that single chamber pops, belly boats usually have 3 or 4 compartments on them, that allow if something happens, you still have the ability to be, get back to
Buoyant.
shore. Buoyant.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
So that's what kind of differentiates between the little plastic tube you get at Walmart or the true old fashioned air tube you get at the gas station,
Right.
with that being a single chamber device.
Yeah, I don't even know what the rules really are supposed to be, so it's hard to complain. I'm just giving you my observations that, wow, there's a lot of folks, and they're all abilities and ages and
Yeah.
wet or dry. I mean, it runs the full gamut.
I think Bryce was saying that it's been a while. It might have been Father's Day weekend. He said there was probably more people at McIntosh than at Union.
Wow.
Yeah.
The price is better.
Well, yeah. That's what I heard.
When there's one warm day in summer,
Yeah.
it's that day.
It was that first really hot day, and I feel sorry for the neighbors because the street is packed both ways. From Harvard all the way to 17th, Lakeshore.
It is
just packed.
Group hears anything, because that's one of the things we worked on, especially during COVID. The neighbors, that was a huge change for them.
Right.
I will remind people that is a city park. They are neighbors, but we want to be good neighbors too.
Right.
So we worked with our transportation, we worked with PD, we worked with rangers on making sure people are parking in appropriate places, that all those things are trying to happen, be appropriate driveways and stuff. And I haven't really heard anything.
Well,
this
those
year.
neighbors know that they live in they get the advantage of
Yes.
living I mean, you know what I mean?
But it was theirs alone
Yeah.
for so long.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
it was-
Yeah,
it was
when
a
it
really
really
good
started,
right.
it was different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I really do see
That's
that
true.
that
Yeah.
neighborhood has really responded to, I think, some of the efforts we have made to try to, make it safer, because that's a big
Right.
piece that, there are people swimming, there's people that have PFDs, and
You guys did a good job with the trash cans and recycling. They're emptied and I don't see them overflowing like before. So yes, I agree. Changes, improvements have been made. I was just curious about the boat. I hadn't seen it yet. I'll have to keep my eyes open. We probably go by 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah.
It's luck of the draw.
It really is a good piece of us here, but, we're trying to get some more staff out there, because really to get rangers out at those areas, I say it over and over, but we're staffed for basically Union and Button Rock.
Right.
Those other 42 parks and 100 miles of trail, I'm pulling people out of those locations.
Well,
to
and at
that.
McIntosh Lake, you have free access to half of that lake. That's 2 miles of shoreline.
Yep.
The one person's not doing that. I get it. It's tricky.
A roving ranger like they do in Boulder County has they have some roving rangers that just
So we have 2 dedicated to that right now. So
Okay, good.
that still work under Bryce out at Union. So we have 2. Their primary role really, on the Sundays they're out there, but their primary role is really looking at some of those unhoused issues along the creeks in the park that we're working with, Hope and Our Center and stuff, to try to make sure that component of how we manage our parks is addressed in the compassionate way, but also make sure everything's safe for people as well. So.
Thank you. I'm good. We're done.
Stop.
I just want to update on or just want to give you an update on the rec center ramps is what I call it, or Bicycle Longmont calls it. But both ramps were put in, so we're just looking for signage, so we're super excited.
Are you going to run like a crosswalk or bike lane through the parking lot or anything?
No, there'll just be signs for the vehicles, is how it was determined to watch for bikes.
We're gonna give Ben a sign. He's gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
Flip it.
I was there. Of course, the one day I went to go take a picture, someone had driven their car into the cone halfway up the ramp. and parked it there. So they were straddling the white line and on the ramp on the new concrete. I'm like, what's going on in your head? Like, did you think
I
that
don't
this
want my car
whole
scratched
area,
or
I thought they were
something.
trying to get into the fenced off, like the coned off area, whatever. So I'm like, well, I can't take a picture, but there are 2 ramps now, and so
That's great.
yeah, so
Proof that this
it's great.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you. So
And thank you.
Yeah, so it's
Help us in our triathlon coming up in August.
nice.
Ah, right.
Any other items from the board? Wow, this really is an early meeting.
Wow. Yeah.
I'll laugh from the corner.
Yeah, this is something I did. Okay, well, if that's the case, is there a motion to?
I move we adjourn.
Go to second?
My second.
Alright, all in favor? That's everybody.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.